Hi and welcome to my channel. Now you may have seen all my coffee dyeing with the plastic tablecloth. If you didn't see that, I'll put a link up here and you can pop over to my Etsy. I do have some packs still for sale. I probably have about 9 packs for sale, and I have another one that I've just finished cutting up. So if you're interested in any of these sort of patterns, check in that link, and yeah, there are still some for sale. All right, so what I'm trying today is some of my stencils. Now I bought this stencil, where did I get it? I think I got it off Temu, and it was just a regular tree shape, but I recut it into a boab shape. Doesn't it look awesome? It looks like a boab tree because I couldn't find one anywhere. And I found this tree pattern and I thought, oh yeah, I can recut that. So I just drew an edge that, where is it? Oh gosh, there's a little sharp bit there. I just redrew the edge and cut it to make it look like the shape of a boab tree. And I just love that. So I'm going to experiment with that today. I've also got some stencils like this, and other sort of stencils like this. This one, it goes that way, does it? Yeah. And this one. And I do have a few stencils already sitting outside drying that I have tried, and well, you can see them peeping through here but I'm not going to show you yet. I'm going to take you outside and show you my process, and there's nothing hard about this at all. I first started with tea. When I started dyeing papers, I only used tea leaves because I'm not a coffee drinker. So, and that worked fine. It was a different color. It did come out a different shade to the coffee. And then I do drink some decaf, and that's all I use to dye the papers with is decaf coffee. And it may give you a different color to different types of coffees as well. So then I switched over to coffee, and I like the darker impressionist leaves, depending on how much coffee you put in. But I found that I had to use quite a bit of tea to get the look that I liked. Right, so I'm going to take you outside and show you my process from scratch. There's nothing hard to this, and yeah, we'll try some of these ones as well. Okay, so I'm just going to add a voice over here because we live in a caravan park and our neighbours are so close. I didn't want to stand outside chatting to myself. So all as I've done, I've got a baking pan that is roughly A4 size. I tipped cold water into it. I know in my previous video I have used hot, but this one all went in cold. I've just tipped in a couple of cupfuls of the decaf coffee here and mixed it around. Nothing hard at all. That's it. There's nothing else that goes in this. And just, yeah, mix it around until it actually dissolves. And then I just start loading in my paper. I do it one at a time. And I think if you want a great impression, that's the way to go. Just do your papers one at a time. And if you've got a nice hot day, you can chow through that pretty quick. The temperature today is getting up to about 32, I think, something like that. It's not that hot outside, but I found that they are drying fairly quickly. They're probably drying within about half an hour, and yeah, on a hotter day, you know, I can go 5-10 minutes and they're dry because we do get really hot, dry days here. So I'm just dipping it in, laying my stencil down, and then I put my hand in the coffee mix and pat it over the stencil again. My previous video, you would have seen me with a spray bottle. That can work too. If you don't want to put your hand in it, you can use a spray bottle with some of the coffee solution in it. But hey, I'm not worried about the coffee getting on my hands. When I come inside, I actually wash my hands with an alcohol-based sanitizer and hand wash, and it gets it all off. So it doesn't stain your hands. So I am not worried about that. So I just keep loading my papers in, just doing them one by one, making sure that it all gets covered. And then laying it on the table. I've got a glass table here, and I've found that that works great because I can flatten out all those air bubbles as I lay my stencil down. I think it's important that you do get those air bubbles out because that will, I don't know, it will alter the way that that your paper dries if you've got air bubbles in it. But hey, if that's what you like, go right ahead and do it. This sort of stuff is just do what you do, and whatever comes out, and I like that. So I'm just doing the stencils that I have showed you inside on here, and then at the end of this I will show you the ones that I had drying on the table, because I actually bought a pack of stencils from Temu and I was giving them a go. So yeah, these are ones I've previously bought from different places, and I thought, oh, I like some of the writing, so I thought I would give that a go. And I just absolutely love my baobab tree. So I'm just getting back into my bottle of coffee here. It's almost finished. Oh, behind the legs. Oh, that looked terrible. And I've oh gosh, I'm just crushing up some of this coffee and I'm sprinkling it on my stencil, and that's going to give me little patches of dark and light as it just seeps in and dissolves into the paper and onto the stencil. I'm not posh in any way. I'm very laid back, and yeah, that's how I get around. I just get around in I've got some awesome thong marks on my feet, don't you worry. My kids looked at me and went, wow, Mum, that is a brilliant thong mark. And I've got my finger in the way. So I will leave these on my table to dry, and then we will reveal them a little bit later. But in the next clip I will peel back some of the previous stencils that I had drying there for you to check out. So this is a pack of stencils I got from Temu. I think it was a pack of maybe 6, or I can't remember. But look how they turned out. They are awesome. I just love the bold patterns on here. Love it. I already did one previous to this and I thought, oh, these are brilliant. So I'm going to get back on Temu and find some more A4 stencils, because I absolutely loved how these turned out. And you know, there's all sorts of stencils on there. I love this one. This one came from Temu, and check out how it turned out. How awesome is that? Love it. This was a piece of the tablecloth that I've been selling, and it turns out brilliant too. Okay, so let's peel off those previous stencils. Don't they look great? I'm so happy how these turned out. And these two, you can see, were still a tad wet. Now, they weren't wet, but they were damp, but I still took it off because I wanted to do a little bit of an experiment. This one, the baobab tree, was still damp, but I took it off, and I thought, I wonder if I still take it off, how this will turn out. These ones were dry, but yeah, those ones that were damp, they weren't wet and they weren't dry. The shape had taken, but they weren't dry. You can see here that it's just a little bit damp, but I loved how this turned out because it seeped back out and continued to add that pattern. I remember I sprinkled dry coffee on top of the stencil when it was all laying there ready to dry. Well, when I did that lift, there was quite a bit of dried coffee on the stencil. You can see here how much dried coffee there was. So I thought, what if I flip it and put that dried coffee onto the damp paper? Now, I didn't add any more coffee here, wet coffee from the tray. I just dipped it and then flipped my stencil. And you can see all this dry coffee here is quite intense. So I thought I'll flip it and just sit it on the wet paper and then let that dry and see how that turns out. That could be something interesting. So that's what I did to this round of papers, and I will pull them when they're dry and see what they come up like. So I just flipped this one straight from that onto a wet piece of paper here. Yeah, I think it's going to have an interesting effect. All right, this is my last round of papers. Now these were just dipped in, put on the table, put the stencil on. I didn't put any extra coffee on these ones here. You can see how much lighter they are. And if you like that effect, you could try that one. And then I'll pull the ones that I had a lot of coffee on the face, and I put down just on wet paper, on the coffee paper. So you can see here, this was one, and it left a lot of coffee stains in there, and yeah, it was quite interesting. It gave you a more haphazard coffee dye, which I really like. And yeah, I enjoyed doing that. It was a good way of using up the coffee too that was stuck on the stencil from the previous dye session. So yeah, this was another one that I did come up beautiful. This one was interesting. This one had a lot of coffee on it that I put face down, but this one had air bubbles. Now you can see here, that's the effect that air bubbles will give you if you don't smooth them out. Yeah, so if you like that, then that's fine, but I'm just showing you what the air bubbles look like. And my last one, my beautiful bulb tree, look how that turned out. Just gorgeous, love it. Right, when you've used that much coffee on your stencils, you do have to wash them. Now I've got a solution here of the alcohol-based sanitizer and just some hand soap, and I'm just giving them a light little rub over and a soak. It gets the coffee off fairly quickly, but you do see a little bit of coffee residue on the stencils, so you do need to just give that a little wipe over. So I just soaked them for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes before, and you can see I'm wiping off you can see the coffee residue that sticks to it, and that'll stay on there if you don't wipe it off with a cloth. So I just soaked them for a little bit. And then make sure you just give them a little wipe over. I'm just pointing to some of the little coffee granules that sort of stick to the plastic, but it wipes off really easily. Now I'm doing that to my stencils because if I use my stencils on some light pretty ink colour, that's going to end up coming off and ruining the picture. So that's why I clean my stencils. Okay, so this is my copy paper. It is a 90 GSM and it's a professional white paper with a 161 whiteness. Yeah, and weight 90 GSM. I wouldn't get any thinner than that. It works really well. I'm really happy with that weight of paper. So I just thought I'd show you that. And then I will show you my big stack of papers that I made today. Look at these. Aren't they awesome? The first few were the ones that I had coffee on, I sprinkled it on. And then when I pulled it, there was dried coffee on the stencil, so I flipped the stencil back over to see how that would come up. This was the one that had the air bubbles in it. Okay, you can see that, but that's all right, I'll still use those papers. But these darker ones, they were all the ones that had a lot of dried coffee on the stencil that I flipped over and put on the wet face of it. So I didn't add any more coffee solution to these ones. I just dipped, put on the table and flipped that stencil over, and yeah, and that's what it gave me. I love the boab tree one, love it. This would look gorgeous in the middle of a journal, you know, the page in the middle. Now if you flip them, just keep in mind that your lettering will be back to front, but I don't mind that. I really don't mind that at all. Gives a little quirky look, doesn't it? I love this stencil. It just comes out gorgeous. It looks like an old document. This is another one that I had a lot of dried coffee on, a lot of dried coffee. And you can see that it's made the outside of the stencil here, the flat part, very light, and then all that coffee has soaked into all the little cracks and cuts and all that sort of stuff. This one, these next few were done just by dipping in once, like just dipping in, putting on the table, putting the stencil on. I added no extra coffee to these ones, and they are a lot lighter. But aren't they fun? Aren't they fun patterns? Now this pattern set came in a set of 9, and if you like, I can leave a link below to where I found this pattern set. Now this one here of the boab tree, I lifted it while it was still wet, and or not wet. I think there's a little sweet spot where you can lift it, and that is when the paper isn't soaked but the paper isn't dry. It's sort of it sort of dries enough to leave the pattern there, but it's still damp. It's a, yeah, it's a funny thing. And so yeah, these were some of those. They had a lot. They were the ones I sprinkled the coffee over when I showed my legs, these ones. And this one is, I pulled that one up and it was still a tad damp, and you can see how the coffee then kept seeping past the pattern. So, you know, it depends how you want it to look. Can give you some really interesting looks. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and try. I think before summer's out, I might go ahead and try different either paints, acrylics or inks or something like that, just to get some colors. I might try that with the stencils. Sorry, I'm still lisping a bit. My dentures have a thicker they have a thicker part to them now. I'm still getting used to them. Now here's another one that came out backwards, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. These are just amazing. I just love them. Love these document type ones. I love how they turned out. And then these are all my just big bold patterns. Aren't they fun? So yeah, they could be really fun done with colours. And those two at the end were some of my original plastic tableclothing, which you can, if you look in the links below to Etsy, I've still got some packs there for sale. This one had quite a lot of tea on it, so you can notice the difference here. This one was I just patted once. This one I put a lot of coffee on, so you can get completely, there's another one there, so you can get completely different looks. See, this one had a lot of coffee. This one I sprinkled coffee on, and this one I just dipped, put the pattern on and didn't touch it again. So the same pattern but 3 different looks. Right, I hope you've enjoyed looking at them today. I had a lot of fun with those stencils, and like I said, I'll link this pack back if you are interested in that. And I hope you've got some tips and tricks with coffee dyeing and how easy it is. It's so easy to get a great effect. I love how these stencils come out. Absolutely love how they came out. And all of these as well. You could just tear these up for ephemera or use them as whole pages, whatever you need them for. So I am definitely going to get back on and order some more A4 size stencils. But in saying that, these were 2 different size stencils. This one was only that big, and then I just put this one on the end. So you can double up your stencils, not double them up, but you know, sit them side by side and see how they go. And yeah, love it. So if you've enjoyed watching this today, I'd love it if you'd like, share and subscribe. I just do all sorts of things here on this channel. I love to experiment. I love to try things out, and I hope you're having a great day, because I am. I've had lots of fun doing this today, and like I said, before it gets cool and we don't have much more time left here in Wodonga before that changes, I think I will try some coloured ones with these. So if this, yeah, I hope it's inspired you to drag out your stencils and give them a go too. They work just as well, and it's just as easy. So take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye.